Good day. I have with me Athol Trollip. For many years, he was one of the great figures within the DA. Nowadays, the news is out. He's with ActionSA. He joined Herman Mashaba, and we're talking to him to hear how this came about.
Yeah, Isak, thanks very much. You know, I thought long and hard about joining another political party. I never thought I'd ever join another political party. Some of my friends and family and supporters believed that I wouldn't be long out of politics. I didn't believe it myself until it happened a few weeks ago. So I obviously gave it a lot of thought. But, you know, I left my previous political party because I lost a bit of conviction. I thought they were taking a new direction that didn't really fit into what I believed South Africa needed. I think in South Africa, you need critical mass of support. You need to be able to attract support from across the board communities, black, white, Indian, colored, rich, poor. And unless you can do that, you're not really going to be able to change the status quo. I think the establishment has become a bit stale in South Africa. Voters really, for a long time, have distrusted politicians and political parties. And recently, I gather that they even dislike politicians and political parties, and that worried me. And when I looked at the fact that over 53% of the registered voters did not participate in this last election, I realized that that was probably the most important constituency in South Africa. People who'd given up on the establishment, people who don't trust the establishment, and people who are just keelful or had enough. So when Herman Mashaba contacted me, and he did contact me 2 years previously, we were going to meet, and then I don't know what happened. COVID came and I never heard from him. And 2 years later, he called me again, and we did meet, and he asked me to come and join him in ActionSA to build an alternative to the current establishment and the ANC government. And I responded positively because I noticed that in the last election, even though he contested only 6 municipalities, they were able to become the 6th biggest party in South Africa because he was able to attract a critical mass of support across all communities. So that excited me. And also the fact that Herman brings a fresh offer, a new dynamic, a dynamic from a businessman who just wants to get the job done. He's not dyed in the wool with old political conventions and all the name saying and calling and all that. He just wants to get the job done. I like his pragmatism, and that's what drew me to ActionSA, and I believe ActionSA is going to do a great job in the forthcoming election and also a great job in turning things around in this country.
Athol, being in ActionSA and the fact that the political landscape nowadays demands coalitions, you will have to work in future with the DA.
You know, Isak, I was in the DA 25 years as an elected public rep, over 35 years as a supporter and an activist. I believe in those values. I regard myself as a liberal Democrat. You don't change your values, or, you know, real honest politicians don't change their values. Your values stay the same. You might just lose conviction on some things happening in your political party. So I've looked at, you know, the constitution of ActionSA. It's not very different to that of the DA. I believe that both organizations want pretty much the same things. It's just how we're going to go about getting those things. So working together with the DA in coalition in future, no problem. In fact, ActionSA is working together with the DA right now as we speak in a number of coalitions. So it's working together with other political parties where you're further apart. That is the real art of politics, especially when it comes to coalitions. We've seen in South Africa now there's a proliferation of multiple political parties all over the country, which makes these coalition governments like herding cats, because every single member party wants to be the mayor or the deputy mayor, or they engage in transactional politics. I'll give you something if you give me something in return. And that makes it almost impossible to govern. So the real art of coalition government is making sure that when you do have a coalition, you write the coalition rules of engagement basically in blood of all of those parties that participate. And if any of them break those rules of engagement, they understand that there are consequences, that will be removed from the coalition, and that will have consequences. Because I experienced that in Nelson Mandela Bay when we were in government, in coalition government with the UDM. They broke every single rule in the coalition agreement. without any consequence, and Bantu Holomisa refused to do anything about that, and our coalition eventually fell apart. So, you know, working with the DA, no problem. Working with the EFF, big problem. And if we ever do have to work with the EFF, they better be in a coalition, because at the moment, hulle is baie slinks. I mean, oh, now I'm speaking Afrikaans to you. They're very sly. They haven't committed themselves once to any coalition. They just say they'll go into a cooperation agreement, which is really just, I don't know, taking advantage of the whole situation, because today they're in cooperation, tomorrow they're against you. And they're the ultimate transactional politicians. So if we are ever to work with an organization like the EFF, there will be very clear guidelines. And if they do make outrageous statements and do outrageous things, that will be the end of the coalitions. As simple as that. So there must be rules of engagement if you want to be in a successful coalition.
Athol, the DA proved themselves to be a party that governs well where they govern. What will make ActionSA a party that will beat the DA? Because I know you and Herman says you are going out to become the official opposition in South Africa.
Let me just correct one thing there. What we want to do is replace the ANC, not the DA. We want to replace the ANC. We believe that the ANC is the problem in South Africa, and we want to replace the ANC. We don't want to play to come second here. We want to play to win or lead a coalition government. One of the biggest challenges the DA has in South Africa is that South African political parties and the establishment are really good at calling each other names and giving people labels. So the DA has battled under the label of being a racist political party, and you know, having a number of white leaders, and then having, you know, various controversial things happen to some of the black leaders has reinforced that perception or that stigma, which makes it very difficult to get critical mass of support. So I think that ActionSA offers something fresh. Herman Mashaba is not contaminated with too much political DNA, or, you know, his carbon footprint is not completely contaminated. People are drawn to his pragmatism. They like the fact that he's been a successful businessman, and they believe that he can be a successful politician and even a leader in this country. And that's what draws me to him. And I think what ActionSA can do that the DA might not have been able to do very successfully in the past is to attract political support from all communities in South Africa. And that can bring about a critical mass that can bring change.
Athol Trollip, leader of ActionSA in the Eastern Cape, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you for your time, Isak. All the best.